All right, so let's start talking about 8.6 day 1, and we're going to be talking about solving a rational equation. So a rational equation is as follows. Whenever you have a binomial, or let's just say polynomial with terms more than one term in the denominator. So this is a rational equation. This is not a rational equation, it's just a regular old equation, right? You have an x. You do have fractions in there, but there's no x's in the denominator, so you can just solve it. So it's when we start getting x's in the denominator that we need to start doing a little bit extra. So before we get into this, I want to talk about how to solve just a regular equation, because that's what this comes down to. Okay, so say I have just a regular equation that's as follows. I have 2/3 x plus 1/3 equals 5/3. Okay, notice they're all three have fractions in them, and they all have a common denominator, so that's good. Okay, so now, how would I solve this? Well, I would subtract 1/3 from both sides, right? So that would give you 2/3 x equals 4/3. Then you're going to multiply by the reciprocal, so times 3/2 to both sides. So those cancel, 2/1, so x equals 2. Okay, so that's the answer for this problem. So look what happens when I do the following. Since all of those numbers have a common denominator, 3, I could also write it like this. Just take off the denominators. So 2x plus 1 equals 5. Okay, so then I would subtract 1, gives me 2x equals 4, divide by 2, and you can see you get the exact same answer. So when we're going to be having these rational equations, we're going to make sure they all have a common denominator, all the terms, and then whenever they have a common denominator, you can take the denominators away. It's going to be pretty fun. So here's the directions. This might make more sense after we do a couple, but factor out all the denominators, factor out everything pretty much. Find the least common denominator, multiply all the parts by the missing, so then that way you have a common denominator from all the terms on both sides of the equation sign or equal sign. Then you're going to drop the denominators. So just like I said, if the denominators are equal, then the numerators are 2. And then you have just a good old-fashioned equation. Set the numerators equal to each other and solve. You may have to factor if it gets crazy, or use a quadratic formula or some other method. Check your solutions. So make sure they would not be a restriction, or so at least make sure they would not be a restriction that makes the denominator undefined. Okay, so let's first talk about on this one, what's my least common denominator going to be? Well, it's going to be 6, right? So in order to do that, I would have to multiply this by 2, that by 3, and that last one is fine. So then I have 4x over 6 minus 3 over 6, and it's going to equal 2x plus 5 over 6, because I didn't have to do anything to that one. Okay, so now that the denominators are the same, you can take them away. So you're going to have 4x minus 3 equals 2x plus 5. Look how easy this is going to be to solve. So I'm going to subtract 2x. So I have 2x, and I'm going to add 3. So 2x equals 8. So divide by 2, x equals 4. Okay, is 4 a restriction? No, because there's no restrictions, so 4 is our answer, our only answer. Okay, so if you wanted to double check the long way, you could plug in 4 for your x, this place and this place, and solve it, and they would be equal on each side. To save time for this video, I'm not going to, but you definitely could if that's one way to check your work on these. So let's do another one. Looks like I need to factor first. I can factor this one to be difference of squares, x plus 3 times x minus 3. All right, so it looks like that's going to have to be our common denominator, the x plus 3 and x minus 3. So I'm going to multiply this one by x plus 3 and this one by x minus 3. So you have x squared plus 3x. And I'm going to go ahead and drop the denominators because I know they're going to anyway. Plus, the next one, let's distribute, x squared minus 3x is going to equal, that last term I didn't have to do anything, so it's just 2. Okay, so we've got some x squareds. Let's clean it up. Looks like these cancel. And I have, looks like 2x squared equals 2. Now, there's a few different ways to look at it. I'm going to factor it out. So I'm going to move that 2 over, so I have 2x squared minus 2 equals 0. You also could have divided right there. So we have 2 times x minus, 1 equals 0. So this one right here would be difference of squares, so x would equal plus or minus 1. Probably an easier method right here is just to divide both sides by 2. That's what I should have done. So you would have got x squared equals 1. Take the square root, so x equals plus or minus 1. We get the same answer, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's check for restrictions. Is this a restriction? R-E-S-T-I-C, whatever. You know I'm trying to spell restrictions. You know I can't spell. Okay, so it looks like my only restrictions are positive and negative 3, and since that's not our answer, it would not give us any grief, so we would be okay with those. Okay, I only have 2 more left to do. So let's start by factoring this one. What adds to be 3 and multiplies to be 2? Well, that would be 2 and 1. Okay, so it looks like I need to multiply this one by x plus 1 and this one by x plus 2. Yay, okay. So I would have, I'm going to go ahead and drop my denominators too. So x minus 1 on the first one plus distribute. So 2x squared plus 2x equals, go ahead and FOIL on the right, so that would be x squared plus 2x minus x minus 2. Clean it up. I'm going to clean up the left side first, so it gives me 2x squared plus 3x minus 1. Over here it gives me x squared plus x minus 2. All right, I'm going to move everything over to get a 0 on one side, and that side I'm going to choose as the right. So I need to subtract an x squared. That'd be an x squared. Subtract an x. That'd be 2x. Add a 2, so that would be plus 1. Okay? So now you have a trinomial that equals 0. How can you solve this? Well, we have a few different methods. We can try to see if it factors. That's going to be the easiest. If that doesn't work, we can use the quadratic formula. And there's a few different ways. So let's try factoring first. So what adds to be 2 multiplies to be 1? That would be 1 and 1. So this is going to be x plus 1 times x plus 1, right? Equals 0. So what does x equal? X equals negative 1. Okay, let's double check. Is that a restriction? Yes, it is. So you can see right here there's a restriction of x is when x is negative 1. So this, is a restriction. Okay, so since there are no other solutions, like on the last one we had 2, since there's not another solution, and that one solution that we thought could be it is a restriction, then the answer is no solutions. So there are no numbers in the entire universe that would make that equation true. All right, last one. Let's factor the top, what adds to be 2 and multiplies to be -3. Well, that would be +3 and -1. All right, oh, these already have a common denominator. Okay, easy. So, let's just, I don't even need to factor. That's okay, because I'm just going to FOIL it back out. That's fine. So we have x minus 1 equals, nothing cancels, so I'm just going to go back to this step right here. X squared plus 2x minus 3. All right, let's get a 0 on the left. So I'm going to just drop that x squared down. Minus x, so that would be positive x. And add 1, so that would be -2. So now we have what adds to be 1 and multiplies to be -2. Well, that would be +2 and -1 equals 0. So x equals, that would be -2 and +1. But which one is the solution? Well, our restriction up here is -2. So this is a restriction. All right, I have to spell this again. I think I did it right that time. That's a restriction. So then in this case, that doesn't work. So our only solution is 1, because we don't want to make that denominator undefined. All right, that is it for these. I think there's 2 with quadratic formulas, but you should be all right on those for the homework. If you have questions, please ask in class. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching.